When on a snowy morning in December 1995, farmer Peter Fearbold and his friend Ken Jiggins found a Range Rover parked in a little-known track near the village of Retton in Essex, they suspected the occupants were poachers. Warily, they approached the vehicle, but the driver and his two passengers were no threat. All three had suffered horrific shotgun wounds, which had rendered them not only dead, but virtually unrecognisable. The discovery of the men, who were soon identified by journalists as the three biggest gangsters in Essex and closely linked to the drugs death in Basildon a few weeks earlier of teenager Leah Betts, was splashed all over the national papers. The murder of Patrick Tate, 37, Tony Tucker, 38, and Craig Rolfe, 26, bore the hallmarks of a gangland execution, an event more familiar with Chicago or Sicily than Essex. 5 years later, a film loosely based on the Retton murders has now opened at cinemas across the UK. Essex Boys stars Sean Bean and Alex Kingston, as well as Tom Wilkinson, who appeared in the film Monty, and Charlie Creed Miles, last seen in Nil by Mouth. It is rare in British cinema for an event to inspire a film so soon after it happens. In the US, made-for-TV films are rushed out almost before the blood has dried in a notorious crime, and often before the trial has taken place. But in the UK, there tends to be much more caution, hence the outcry when films were mooted in the wake of the Yorkshire Ripper and Fred West cases. Perhaps a disclaimer at the beginning of the Essex Boys will assuage the feelings of the relatives of the Retton trio. This story is inspired by a single true event. It left 3 men dead, 2 serving life imprisonment, and another living under an assumed identity. The rest is fiction, as are all the characters filmgoers are told. In January 1998, Michael Steele and Jack Worms were jailed for life for the murders, and a key prosecution witness, Darren Nichols, vanished into the netherworld of supergrasses. The film's co-writer, Jeff Pope, says, "The murder was the spark that started all this off. I always follow things like in the papers because they're so intriguing. This one was especially interesting. 3 guys dead. No one knew how they got there or how they'd been killed. It didn't look like part of a struggle. It looked like they'd been executed. But it raised the question as to who did that. We used that as our starting point." But he says, "When we looked at the real story, we found it messy and confused. You constantly find that real life is more mundane than you want your real story to be." Chris Bowen, the solicitor working for free for stealing Worms, says Pope could not be more wrong. The true story of the Retton murders will blow your mind. He told BBC News Online, "Someone somewhere chose to fit them up, and I would love to know how they can sleep at night knowing that." Worms' mother Pam told BBC News Online, "The true story has yet to come out. It will be a much better story than the film." The film's biggest departure from the real story is the creation of a strong female character in Alex Kingston, who plays Sean Bean's wife Lisa. The actress worked on Essex Boys during a break from filming ER in the US. Kingston says, "I chose to give it my break during ER because Essex Boys was the best script I'd read in a long time. I thought the characters were wonderful. Also, I remember the true event that fueled Jeff and Terry's imagination. It was an extraordinary mystery in a sense, seeing this Range Rover with these 3 men in it in the middle of a field. It intrigued me." Bean himself says, "Jason is a totally fictitious character, and if anything, is a mixture of people and faces, past and present. I didn't want to pin him down to one particular individual, as I felt this would constrict his impact with the confines of the character." Pete Daly of Distributors Paith says Essex Boys is a film noir with elements of Goodfellas, but in this case, instead of the gangsters moving out from New York City to suburban New Jersey, the villains have relocated from the East End to the Essex hinterland. One of the many puzzling aspects of the case is the fact that the Range Rover was not iced over, unlike Mr. Jiggins, Mr. Fearbold's own vehicle, despite apparently having been out in the lane on a freezing night since 7 p.m. the previous evening. Mr. Bowen is assisting Steele and Worms in making applications to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, which has the power to refer the case back to the Court of Appeal if it feels there is fresh evidence that the convictions are unsafe. He told BBC News Online, "The prosecution case is crumbling before our eyes." An Essex police spokeswoman said the force has no comment about the film, which is essentially fiction, but she said The whole case was fully investigated and the men were sentenced. If anyone has any hard evidence, they should contact us. But so far, nothing has come our way which changes our views on the conviction.